My name is Cousin, and I make videos about writing poems in 3 languages. Today, I'm going to talk about my experience of using level and oblique tunes. As we know, similar to Shakespearean poetry, traditional Chinese poetry has very strict rhyme and rhythm patterns. We talked about the rhyme patterns in the last video, so today we are going to talk about the rhythm patterns. The rhythm patterns is called level and oblique tunes. Level tunes are the first and second tunes in modern Mandarin Chinese, and oblique tunes are third and fourth tune in modern Mandarin Chinese. Level and oblique tunes are relevantly simple in Mandarin, but in traditional Chinese poetry, we also use a system of ancient Chinese, which is more complicated because we cannot know about how it exactly sound like in ancient China. Tunes are different in ancient Chinese as there are entering tunes. Entering tunes does not exist in Mandarin Chinese, but it does exist in some dialects, especially in southern part of China. Entering tune is a form of oblique tune. It belongs to oblique tune in ancient Chinese, but when we develop into Mandarin Chinese, when we try to standardize it, this kind of entering tune is lost, and those characters which were entering tune characters, right now they can be level or oblique tune characters. Because it is traditional Chinese poetry, a lot of people would like to follow the patterns of ancient China, which means that they learn about the entering tunes if they do not have it in their dialect. So they recite the poems from famous poets in history, and then they try to imagine the tune so that they can use it. They can remember the characters which are entering tune characters and then use it in their poetry. I'm one of them because I don't have it in my dialect, and actually I don't really speak my dialect because when I was little I did not consider myself to be fully belong to my city because my parents, they are not from the city, so I did not want to feel excluded from my relatives when they're speaking a different dialect, so I ended up speaking no dialect. Yeah, that is a really bad thing. But yeah, I love to imagine about the entering tunes so that I can use it in my traditional Chinese poetry. I like the way that it is kind of untouchable, like you can't really perceive it, but you know that it is there, you know that this kind of sound exists in ancient China. There are different types of traditional Chinese poetry. One is a 5-character rhyme poem, and another is 7-character rhyme poem. These two of them are of very strict structure and rhyme. 5-character rhyme poems means that there are 5 characters in each sentence, and by saying sentence in traditional Chinese poetry, each sentence means that there is a comma or there's a full stop. This can all be called sentences. So in 5-character rhyme poems, there can be 4 sentences or 8 sentences in each poem. In 5-character rhyme poems, there's 4 sentences. There are 20 characters in total. And in 5-character rhyme poems with 8 sentences, there are 40 characters in total. In 7-character rhyme poems, they can also be 4 sentences or 8 sentences in each poem. In 7-character rhyme poems with 4 sentences, there are 28 characters in total. And in 7-character rhyme poems with 8 sentences, there are 56 characters in total. Today I'm not going to introduce you to all this type of level and oblique tunes patterns in all these types of traditional Chinese poetry. I'm only going to talk about the 7-character rhyme poem, starting with oblique tune and first sentence with rhyme style. As you can see from this picture, there are different shapes which can represent different characteristics of characters. So the first character is represented by a circle with a dot inside it, which means that it can be a level tune character or an oblique tune character. The second character is represented by a circle filled with black inside it, which means that it is an oblique tune character. The third character is represented by a circle with a dot inside it, which means that it can be level tune character or oblique tune character. The fourth character is represented by a circle with nothing inside it, which means that it can only be a level tune character. The seventh character is represented by a triangle with nothing inside it, which means that it is not only a level tune character, but also a rhyme. Not all the poems need to have rhymes in the first sentence, but in this one, I chose the poem that there is a rhyme in the first sentence. There are 8 sentences in the poem, which means that there are 56 characters in the 7-character rhyme poems. The first sentence can have rhyme or there cannot be a rhyme. It's all okay. But in the second, the fourth, the 6th, and the 8th sentence, the rhymes should be there at the end of the sentence. As you can see in this form, there are only level rhymes, which means that the rhymes are little triangles which has nothing inside it. This means that they are both rhymes and they are level tune characters. And we don't mix level tune, oblique tune characters in traditional Chinese poetry. At least in this kind of shi poetry that I'm introducing to you. In some ci poetry, we can mix the rhyme, the level tune rhymes and the oblique tune rhymes, but it had to be mixed in certain places. See my last video of explanations of what is shi poetry and what is ci poetry, but we are only going to talk about shi poetry in this video. To briefly introduce, shi poetry is less flexible than ci poetry. The rhymes are less flexible and also the length of the sentences are less flexible. They both have strict structure and rhymes. So, now let's go back to talk about shi poetry. Regarding the starting with oblique tune thing, it means that the second character of the first sentence is of oblique tune. The reason that the first character doesn't count, although it is at the start of the sentence, is that it is flexible, it can be level tune or oblique tune, so it doesn't count. As we can see, the second, fourth, and 6th characters are less flexible than other characters in the sentence. As we can see from the picture, the 3rd and 4th sentences can form a symmetry, and the 5th and 6th sentences can form a symmetry. This kind of symmetrical structure are only obligatory in poems with 8 sentences, but are not obligatory with poems with 4 sentences. What I mean by symmetry is that when you look at the 2nd, 4th, and 6th character in each sentence, they are of the opposite tune pattern. Like the second character of the 3rd sentence is level tune, and the second character of the 4th sentence is oblique tune. The second, fourth, and sixth characters and the third and fourth sentences all follow these patterns, which are level, oblique, level, and oblique, level, oblique. In the fifth and sixth sentences, the patterns are oblique, level, oblique, and level, oblique, level. They are not only the symmetry in terms of the tunes, but also the symmetries in terms of the word class. Now let's look at the example of the second to fourth sentences in a poem that I've written. I've shown the poems, the tune patterns, and also the translation. So WeChat moment, traveling person, yesteryear me is the third sentence. This world, floating clouds, this day pupil is the fourth sentence. So over here, in terms of structure and meaning, WeChat moment is similar to this world. Traveling person is similar to floating clouds. Yesteryear me is similar to this day pupil. And for the fifth sentence and the sixth sentence, they are whatever allow, fresh breeze, blow, small room, only use, gigantic waves, unfold, blue sky. So, in terms of structure and meaning, whatever allow is similar to only use, fresh breeze is similar to gigantic waves, blow is similar to unfold, small room is similar to blue sky. There is a pattern of words of similar word class are at similar places over here, like the traveling is an adjective and floating is an adjective. Person is a noun and cloud is a noun. Yesteryear and this day are both describing time. Me and pupil are both nouns. Whatever and only are the opposites. One is lack of restrictions and one is strictly restricted. Allow and use are both verbs. Fresh and gigantic are both adjectives. Breeze and waves are both nouns. Blow and unfold are both verbs. Small and blue are both adjectives. Room and sky are both nouns. They don't have to form a strict symmetry in terms of word class and meaning. I'm only aware of this kind of symmetry in both sound patterns and meanings in traditional Chinese poetry, but not in poetry in other countries. I believe that it is because of the characteristics of ancient Chinese, which means that one character carries more meaning than maybe more characters in Mandarin Chinese. It can also form this kind of symmetry because there's a lack of linking words. Like people can guess the meaning, like how they link together from the context. If you know of any type of poetry from your country or from other countries, which also forms a pattern of symmetry in certain lines, in terms of the meaning and also the sound patterns, comment down below. I'd like to know about that. Now, I'm going to read you one of my poems, which is a 7-character rhyme poem, starting with oblique tune. and the first sentence with rhyme style. You can listen to it and feel the sound patterns of traditional Chinese poetry. There's a slight change in the first sentence sound pattern of the fifth character, which is a certain technique in traditional Chinese poetry, and I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, you have to master a certain type of skill to make sure that you can do it correctly, but it's too complicated over here, so we're going to just overlook it. I've shown the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth sentences of this poem previously in order to explain the symmetry patterns of traditional Chinese poetry. Now, I'm reading you the entire poem. 票圈见朋友去摩洛哥，已是重来情未浓，北飞岁月自无穷。票圈游子当年我，现世浮云此日同。且任清风吹小事，但凭巨浪斩苍穹。醉疑天际交眼影，一入寻常岁月中。This is a poem that I've written while I was in university. While I was in primary school, I did not know about level and oblique tools, and therefore I did not really use it. At the start of secondary school, when I was 12, I started learning about level and oblique tools, but at that time I only know about one discipline, which is 1, 3, 5 doesn't matter, and 2, 4, 6 does matter. Which means the first, third, and fifth characters in the 5-character rhyme poems and 7-character rhyme poems, if they do exist, they are not so important, and the second, fourth, and sixth characters in 5-character rhyme poems and 7-character rhyme poems, they are very important in terms of forming the symmetry, and also in terms of not really changing in traditional Chinese poetry. They are very important. But I did not pay attention to other characters, like if they form symmetry or if they need to stay in a certain type of tune. I did not pay attention to that. And also at that time, I kind of generalized the rules, which is an overgeneralization. I only made sure that the level tunes and oblique tunes, they can form kind of symmetry, but I did not pay attention to the sequence they appeared. I did master the level and oblique tune patterns as shown in the picture when I was 15. I remembered them through reciting the poems from famous poets in history, and also from using certain tricks. As the second character in each sentence, they are changing in a similar pattern. Like if the first sentence is oblique, the second sentence is level, which is different from the first sentence. The third sentence is level, which is the same as the second sentence. The fourth sentence is oblique, which is different from the third sentence. The fifth sentence is oblique, which is the same as the fourth sentence. The sixth sentence is level, which is different from the fifth sentence. The seventh sentence is level, which is the same as the sixth sentence. And the eighth sentence is oblique, which is different from the seventh sentence. From the age of 12 to the age of 15, I learned about traditional Chinese poetry level and oblique tunes in terms of ancient Chinese, which means that I only learned about the sound patterns I learned to write about that in ancient Chinese, but not in Mandarin Chinese sound patterns. I only turned to use the sound patterns of Mandarin Chinese when I went to university and when I came to know about the poets from universities in China and know about the changes of the rhyme books and how the changes is following a trend of adapting to the needs of the modern society. So right now, I use the level and oblique tune patterns of ancient China together with the rhyme book of ancient China, and also I use the level and oblique tune of Mandarin Chinese together with the rhyme books of the sound patterns of Mandarin Chinese. So I use both systems. I only use the forms when they come to me naturally like that. I don't pick them, and I'll never sacrifice the meaning for the forms. Although the sound patterns of traditional Chinese poetry come to me naturally when I write traditional Chinese poetry, the sound patterns in English poetry does not come naturally to me, so I rarely use them. I do know about iambic pentameter, and I know about the stress patterns, and I could feel them, but unfortunately they just did not come to me when I wrote English poetry. Let me know about the experiences that you have when you are using the sound patterns in poems in your language or in other languages. I would like to know about if you can feel them coming to you naturally or you cannot. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!